People ask me all the time, why do you have so many plants in your house? And I've actually been thinking about that myself. When did that flip happen? When did I start caring about plants? And I think the answer is simpler than I expected. Somewhere along the way I started learning how to pour things back into myself, to invest in things that I actually care about. Because for a long time I've been passionate about a lot of things, but those passions didn't last very long. They came in phases. I'd be interested in something for a while and then I'd move on to something else. What I didn't have back then, I believe, was patience, to stay with something long enough to actually watch it compound. And I think plants taught me that. There's something beautiful about watching plants slowly grow under your care, having to water them, giving them enough sunlight, that extra attention when they start dropping their leaves, and only to watch them evolve so much over time. And I've been applying that same idea to several parts of my life, whether that's health, a passion, or simply trying to get better each day. And if you follow that long enough, you start structuring your life a little differently. You tend to reflect more, you set standards, you assess where you are. It's almost like you're on some kind of a path, an adventure where you're chasing a version of yourself in the future. You're trying to close that gap between where you are today and where you think you could be. And the interesting part is you probably never fully get there, And that might be the best part. Because you don't want an adventure to end, An adventure only really ends when it's your time to go. So essentially you're signing up for something that never really finishes, a ladder that you keep climbing. And along the way you experience everything, right from happiness to failure to regret to progress. And somehow that gives you something to look forward to. At the same time, there's another side to this. Once you start finding things that you care about, things that you want to build, things that you want to grow, it's very easy to get pulled into them. And balance becomes difficult. People talk about balance like it's easy, but it's not. It's one of the hardest things to get right. Because the things that you care about will always ask for more of your time, more of your attention. And figuring out how to give it enough without losing everything else, that's the challenge. It's almost like being on a path that sometimes splits. Sometimes it gets longer, sometimes it gets more complicated. But the goal is to not lose your direction, especially in a world that's designed to pull you away from it. A world that is built on distractions. It's built on optimized systems that are designed to keep you engaged. In that kind of a world, being intentional becomes rare. Because there's beauty in everything, there's beauty in the internet, there's beauty in social media, in staying connected with people, seeing what they're up to. But the important thing is balance. And I don't have the perfect answer for that. Even now, if I'm being honest, over the past few weeks, I've been more distracted than I'd like. And I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to come back to being more present, a bit more intentional. And maybe that's what this is really about, not having everything figured out, but being aware of where you are. Watching what you're building the same way you'd watch something grow, without losing yourself in the process. So I guess I'll leave it with this. If you're building a life the same way you'd grow a plant, are you giving it the care and attention it needs, or are you just hoping that it'll grow itself? Think about it. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next week.